Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. We're going to have a look at a story which deals with the mismanagement of all the finances by Shona Robison. She is the one responsible, and it's not surprising really, given that her IQ is about 86. However, before we get into that, there is something I feel I absolutely must do. There's two things. Number one, I want to make a very deep personal thank you to Ryan. Exceedingly generous, Ryan. Thank you very much. It is always appreciated. So, raise hat. Thank you very much. The other thing is I want to give everyone a heads up. I was in contact with Leslie Roberts yesterday, friend of the channel, as many of the long-term viewers know. And she is going to task. She's got another battle on. Now, I'm not going to go into details. First, partially because I want to keep it. This is only a teaser. And secondly, because she damn well refused to tell me all the details. And it's like, oh no, I really want to know. But she said, no, got to be a surprise. So she's told me that it's happening. But I'm not going to say any more than that. I'm not even saying who she's taking to task. But it's going to be Sunday. I'm going to do the video on it. And do keep an eye out. And if you've not yet subscribed, now's the time. Anyway, we'll have a look at this mismanagement claim and see what's going on with Shona Robison and how awful it is and how bad it's going to get in future. Here goes. The S&P's eye-watering mismanagement on display in the latest financial report. And did anyone think it would be anything else? It is Shona Robison, after all, not the brightest button in the box. I mean, even if she was the only button in the box, she wouldn't be the brightest button in the box, would she? She is thick as two short planks. Literally doesn't have a clue. So no wonder it's falling apart at the seams. Shona Robison has the mammoth task of deciding where the axe will fall with her upcoming budget, as she is accused of refusing to accept responsibility for their abject economic failings. Oh yes, it's not my fault. Yes, I'm in charge of the finances, but it's not my fault. You know, I'm the one that's cutting 30 million from mental health, but making sure there's 35 million in there to keep foreign embassies open, even though we don't need them and we shouldn't have them, and they don't do anything. But hey, got to keep our friends employed, haven't we? This is why everything is shit in there, everything under their control falls apart because she's not capable. She's literally not intelligent enough. The SNP government must deal with a substantial funding gap and what has been characterised as one of the most challenging fiscal backdrops in the history of Scottish devolution. I'm going to go so far as to say it's almost as bad as Darien. I think there is, well, certainly the debt is higher. The debt at the time of Darien wasn't this big. It's only the fact that people are just used to big debts now. But this is as big as the Darien affair. And they want independence. Think how bad it is now. This is an aside out of this piece, but literally, think how bad it is now. Now think if it was an independent Scotland. Think how bad it would be knowing that you couldn't run to Westminster and plead on bended knee for more money. And they want independence. Jesus wept. Anyway, economists at the Fraser of Allander Institute said the fiscal situation is likely to be quite tight, in their words. I think disastrous. In the years beyond 24-25, with a warning that Finance Minister Shona Robison must address a £1 billion funding gap on resource spending, rising to £1.5 billion when capital commitments are included. And you can add another billion onto that because of the Brains Trust and his bright idea to freeze council tax. What an arse. Anyway, it even went on as far to say that the potential for new income tax brackets, as speculated, will be nowhere near sufficient to balance the books. And we've already addressed that many times. We've actually had a conversation in the comments about that as well, with someone saying that, of course, it won't affect because the people at that range generally have mitigation already in place for that. And I agree. But my point wasn't the numbers themselves. It was the principle of it. That they think by raising this will raise that amount of income. Sorry, by introducing this will raise that amount of income tax. And the point I was making is nowhere near. It won't, because people either have mitigated it or will mitigate it. So just to clarify that, the conversation I had in the accounts, I wasn't in the comments. I wasn't for 1 minute saying that it wouldn't happen. I am agreeing it completely would. Nobody will do this. It won't. It just won't happen. It won't raise anywhere near what they think. Anyway, the report credited better than expected income tax revenues, with more funding from the UK government, but said Holyrood pay dispute settlements, £300 million tax freeze, council tax freeze, and the rest, as well as 100 million that's already committed to cutting the NHS, has tipped the balance out of favour. I will say that the Westminster government may be minded not to increase their payments to Scotland, considering that the money that they have given them hasn't yet been spent. They haven't seen the receipts. And so as far as Westminster is concerned, there's still all these billions, untold billions up there waiting to be spent. And so they'll wait until those are spent before they can give any more. I mean, that seems fair to me as well, because those billions have gone missing. And as far as I'm concerned, they're sitting in little offshore accounts somewhere for when this Third Reich of Scotland, Mac Reich, you could call it, I suppose, fails, and these criminals all get in their private jets and sod off to countries without an extradition treaty to live there supping pina coladas on the beach and earning 10%. Lovely. Anyway, Miss Robison, the Deputy First Minister, is in the final days before delivering the budgets. I'm going to say is in the final days of her career, perhaps. And in addition to the ring-fence funds, 325 million of spending has been moved from this financial year into 2024 in order to balance the budget. Well, that just means nothing. It's the same money. It's just delayed. It doesn't actually, fill the hole, as it were. It's like, I've got a hole here, so I'll dig some ground over here to fill this hole. You're left with a hole over here, aren't you? That's basically what it is. Miss Smith told the Scottish Express all the signs are pointing towards the Grand Mufti trying to tax his way out of an ever-growing financial black hole. And we know that just doesn't work. You cannot tax your way out of debt. She said that would be naive in the extreme. Well, you think. And as the Fraser of Allander point out, a new higher tax band would barely make a dent in the deficit. The only way you can do it is to cut all the excess spending that you don't need on things like independence. But by God, they're never going to do that, are they? The SNP's budget looks set to widen the tax gap even further between Scotland and the rest of the United Kingdom, while ministers simultaneously refuse to accept responsibility for their abject economic failings. When you have got a woman that stupid running finance, you're not going to get anything else. The thing is, she will never accept responsibility because she's incapable of seeing that it was her fault, simply because stupid people don't understand how amazingly stupid they are. I'm an intelligent person, and I'm not boasting. I'm an intelligent person. I stood in CERN, and I realised that the only contribution I could make to that room would be to put the kettle on and then go stand in the corner with a dunce's hat. Because I am clever enough to know how stupid I am. I could feel the intelligence coming off these guys. It was like a force field of clever. She doesn't have that. She has a buffer zone of ignorance and stupidity because nothing gets through to her. You can throw facts at her, you can throw information at her, but this buffer of, this force field of dim bounces all these things off and nothing gets in. Anyway, Professor Mary, I'm going to say Spowage, I'm not sure how you pronounce that, the director of the Fraser of Allander Institute, said this large funding gap will mean difficult choices for the Scottish Government on what to prioritise. And in a devolved context, the gap cannot be allowed to manifest in practice, so steps will be needed to be taken to address it. Those steps, of course, meaning tax and cuts. But tax won't make much of a difference. It has to be cuts. Just to round off, she said, of course, the DFM may choose... That's the Deputy First Minister, isn't it? Oh, yeah, good, DFM. Oh, duh. See? Stupid. May choose to use powers over income tax to raise more revenue to plug this gap. But it is unlikely that this would be sufficient in isolation. I literally just said that taxes won't be enough. It's got to be cuts. Significant spending cuts. My God, it's a hive mind, isn't it? Because we both understand economics. Significant spending cuts are also likely to be required. The DFM has the unenviable task of choosing where the axe will fall. Well, it won't fall in independence. It will fall where people need it. Health, education, transport, all the things that people need, all the things that make people's lives better will be cut. The things that make people's lives worse, independent, will be the only department getting a real term increase. And that tells you all you need to know about this moron and her priorities. People will die. That's the price she thinks is worth paying to keep alive this fetid, fevered dream of independence, which will never come. And we'll address how it won't come in the next video, which is about Angela Constant. Did you watch her on Question Time? She's coming up next, so be aware of that one. Anyway, for this one, we'll round this off. I'll come up and we'll finish the video. So there you go. You've got a moron looking at numbers on a piece of paper. She's getting a little child's abacus out. She doesn't know what she's doing, but she wants to look busy. So in case anyone walks past the office, they can see her working. Oh, it's very difficult, she's saying. It's very difficult. Oh, I've got some big sums to do. And then she'll just go, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. And get some mindless policy wonk to go in and go, well, cut that. But don't cut independence, because that's all they have. And it's very sad. People will die. People will suffer. People will be made miserable. But the independence dream that most people don't want will still burn brightly in their little hearts. God bless them. Anyway, I shall stop there. Thank you very much for watching this one. Do keep an eye out for the next one. You see, me mentioning the Angela Constance one, you see, we don't just throw this stuff together, you know. It's all planned. It's all planned. Unless you get breaking news, which kind of interrupts it, generally. But we do work hard. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Do please hit the subscribe button. Do please hit the like. And I've never mentioned this before, but there is the super thanks if you're very, very generous. But otherwise, I tell you what, if you're a regular viewer and you haven't yet subscribed, just subscribing is enough. Thank you and goodbye.